And I didn't. And I didn't.
Welcome back to Fact Me Up channel. Get ready to journey into the heart-wrenching tale of Schindler's List as we uncover 13 captivating facts about this unforgettable film. From its profound impact on audiences to the remarkable dedication of its cast and crew, each fact reveals a new layer of insight into the creation of this cinematic masterpiece. Join us as we explore the legacy of Schindler's List and its enduring significance in the realm of cinema. Steven Spielberg initially offered the job of directing the movie to Roman Polanski. Polanski turned it down because the subject was too personal for him. He had lived in the Krakow ghetto until the age of 8 when he escaped on the day of the liquidation.
I was living in a country since I escaped from the ghetto just before the liquidation. My mother was taken...
This is Warsaw or...
No, that was Krakow.
His mother later died at the Auschwitz concentration camp. After learning this, Spielberg immediately and repeatedly apologized for bringing up such a traumatic memory. However, Polanski would later direct his own movie about the Holocaust with Adrian Brody, the pianist, which contained many autobiographical elements. During the production of the movie, the atmosphere was so grim and depressing that Steven Spielberg asked his friend Robin Williams if he could tell some jokes and do comedy sketches while Spielberg would watch episodes of Seinfeld. Some of Williams' sketches that were played through the speakerphone to the cast and crew ended up being part of dialogue material for his character of Genie in Aladdin.
Give me some tassel. Yo, yo.
In order to gather costumes for 20,000 extras in the movie, the costume designer took out advertisements seeking clothes. Since economic conditions were poor in Poland in the 1990s, many people were eager to sell clothing they still owned from the 1930s and 1940s. At his insistence, citing that it would be blood money, all royalties and residuals from this movie that would normally have gone to Steven Spielberg instead were given to the Shoah Foundation, which records and preserves written and videotaped testimonies from survivors of genocide worldwide, including the Holocaust. Steven Spielberg was able to get permission to film inside Auschwitz, but chose not to do it out of respect for the victims. So the scenes of the death camp were filmed outside the gates on a set constructed in a mirror image of the real location on the other side. When the survivor of the World War II Mila Pfefferberg was introduced to Ralph Fiennes on the set, she began shaking uncontrollably as he reminded her too much of the real Amon Göth. The shots featuring a redcoat girl came from a story that Audrey Hepburn told Steven Spielberg while they were filming her final movie Always. She told him of an incident during World War II where she saw a little girl with the same attire while the other people were loaded onto trains. That moment was forever etched in her memory, and it struck Spielberg when he made this film. Due to the amount of violence and horror depicted, Spielberg made Olivia Dabrowska, the redcoat girl, and her parents to promise him not to watch the film until she reaches 18. True to what he said, she was horrified of the result when she violated the promise at the age of 11. When Steven Spielberg first showed composer John Williams a cut of this movie, Williams was so moved he had to take a walk outside for several minutes to collect himself. Upon his return, he told Spielberg he deserved a better composer, to which Spielberg replied, "I know, but they're all dead." When the film was to be shown in the Philippines, the censors decided to cut out certain scenes of nudity and violence. When Steven Spielberg learned of this, he wanted to pull the film out unless it was shown as it is. So Philippine President Fidel Ramos intervened and overruled the censors, and the film was shown without any cuts. There was a similar situation in Malaysia, but with no intervention, and the film was eventually banned. Steven Spielberg actively pursued the project when he noticed the increasing anti-Semitism and neo-Nazism in the 1990s, basically the same sentiments that had led to the Holocaust in the first place. He was also horrified that Holocaust deniers were being taken increasingly seriously in the media. His resolve to make the film was further strengthened when studio executives asked him why he didn't simply make a donation of some sort, rather than wasting everyone's time and money on a depressing film. Despite the negative response from the executives, This film went on to become a cinematic masterpiece, earning widespread critical acclaim and winning 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director for Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List.
In reality, it was not Itzhak Stern who helped Oskar Schindler put the list together, but it was actually Marcel Goldberg. Many survivors who speak of Goldberg do so with disdain, as he was unscrupulous in deciding who ended up on the list, reportedly accepting bribes from some survivors, taking names off the list to add theirs instead.
Maybe I could put in a good word for you, Master Superiors.
Secretary Mimi Reinhardt typed up the list, but she is not portrayed in the film. Months before he landed the title role, Liam Neeson had auditioned for the role of Oskar Schindler. Assuming that he'd never get the part, he accepted an offer to play in a Broadway revival of Eugene O'Neill's Anna Christie at New York's Criterion Center in 1993. One evening after a performance, Neeson was in his dressing room when a knock on the door announced the arrival of Steven Spielberg, his wife Kate Capshaw, and her mother. After the show, Neeson saw that Kate's mother was emotionally moved by the performance, so he hugged her to comfort her. Capshaw noted his kindness and later commented to husband Steven, "That's just what Oskar Schindler would have done." Neeson received a call a week later from Spielberg with the offer of the lead role. Spielberg cited this interaction rather than his audition as one of the key reasons Neeson won the role. When Steven Spielberg returned to Cal State Long Beach to earn his BA 34 years after dropping out, his film professor accepted this movie in place of the short student film normally required to pass the class. This movie had already won Spielberg Golden Globes and Oscars for Best Director and Best Picture.